This episode was recorded on the unceded lands of the Kulin Nation.
Hello, my name is Jen Johnson from Living Positive Victoria, and welcome to the latest episode of PosLink Plus Listen. In this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Jordan, who is known to some as Skelly Bear 18, about a recent fundraiser that he did. It all started late last year when Jordan, or Skelly, got in touch with us asking for some info about how to make a donation to Living Positive Victoria. But it turned out he was actually working up a brilliant idea for a fundraiser for Living Positive Victoria, which would bring together his skills as a gamer, as well as bringing together his gamer community, along with his personal journey as a young person in regional Victoria living with HIV. This episode is a real treat. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Jordan, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Jen. Very glad to be here.
So you recently hosted a fundraiser on your Twitch channel. Can you tell us a bit about what you did and even what on earth a Twitch channel is?
Yeah, I can absolutely tell you a bit about that, Jen. So Twitch is a platform primarily used to stream video games. It's got very many different channels and no channel is one and the same. Mm-hmm. It's very unique broadcasting from channel to channel. Mm-hmm. I myself play a variety of games, things like Mario Kart, Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Apex Legends, etc., etc. Very big variety of games on my channel. And I used my channel to help raise donations for you guys at Living Positive Victoria. Set up a donation line where people could donate as much money as they could or as little as they could, and used those donations to set donation goals, which were little challenges for me to do on stream.
Okay.
So I did one for Mario Kart. It was one-handed Mario Kart, which was very challenging, trying to hold a Joy-Con into one controller.
So you're playing Switch with one Joy-Con?
Yep, playing Switch on one Joy-Con.
How did you go? I'm just curious. Did you come 12th or?
I didn't actually do too bad. On average, placing about third.
Okay.
Third, fourth.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Waiting for the carpal tunnel to set in.
Okay. And for your efforts, so you complete the challenge one-handed Mario Kart, which is a driving game, for those of you who never had the pleasure. And then after that, someone will drop a donation for a reward. Is that sort of how it works? Or the donation comes in first and then you do the challenge?
So when a donation or donations tally up to X amount of dollars, for example, $50 goal was the one-handed Mario Kart. So once that donation has been reached, that's when it's kind of like, okay, I will set up another stream to complete this challenge.
Okay.
And then if we reach another goal in the same stream, if it's a goal that has been reached closer towards the start of the stream, it's kind of like, okay, cool, I can now do this in this stream as well, rather than setting up a different stream to try and get it done.
So how long did the fundraiser go for?
I did the fundraiser over a month, from the 18th of December to the 18th of January.
So I would like to ask you, Skelly, so what led you to starting this fundraiser? Where did the idea come from?
So I was inspired by some fellow streamers and very good friends of mine who did a fundraising stream for Game on Cancer. Watching that, it made me think, I haven't seen anybody do this for people living with HIV or any HIV AIDS sectors. And it really got me thinking, I should be the first step into this.
Yeah.
And just, hitting something so close to home was such an important thing to me. As soon as I thought of the idea, it was like, I have to do this.
Yeah, close to home. Well, that was when we first met, because you reached out and shared the idea that you wanted to run a fundraiser. And I was definitely curious, and it was really inspiring to talk with you throughout the process of thinking through how you might approach it, and then the way that you actually did it. But I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about why the idea of running a fundraiser for our organisation, Living Positive Victoria, really hit home for you. Like, where is you have a personal connection with HIV. Can you talk a little bit about how the fundraiser was for you a way of kind of connecting a little bit with your experiences with HIV in your community?
So when I had discovered Living Positive Victoria, it was something I wish I had when I was diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, I was very isolated, knew nothing about HIV. I had to take that learning curve with me. So when I reached out and you guys were on board with this, it was like, cool. I'm doing something not only for myself, but the bigger part of the community. And when I saw some of the amazing programs that you guys do, it was like, this is something that needs constant contribution towards, so we can keep doing things like this, reaching out to people, getting new members in. And that just really hit home for me.
Yeah. So how much did you know about HIV, kind of thinking back to before you were diagnosed? How much did you know about HIV? Like, what did HIV mean to you?
HIV, prior diagnosis, I knew nothing. I wasn't taught about it in school. It wasn't spoken of outside of school. It had meant nothing to me. It was not something that I thought of, ever had to question until I was diagnosed. And it's like, what's happening? What's going to happen to me?
And how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 18 when I was diagnosed, freshly 18.
Yeah. And so they didn't really talk about HIV at school?
No, not in my school.
Yeah. I don't think that's super uncommon. So pretty young to be learning about something so life-changing. And so you talk about not knowing anything at all about HIV and then finding out that you have it. Can you tell us a bit about the journey of learning about HIV?
The learning of it was probably the biggest part of it, because when you know nothing and you're being diagnosed with HIV, you're not processing all the information that the GP or a specialist is giving you. It's something you have to research on your own. And of course, reading a leaflet that's handed to you by a GP. But there's still so many questions that you ask. Not even just the research into HIV itself, but like the big important questions. Why me? But the information about HIV, I had to Google it. I had to ask questions between family members, doctors, and online research.
And what sort of a difference do you think it might have made if you had have connected with Living Positive Victoria and connected with peer support or met other folks living with HIV in those early years?
I probably would have felt less isolated. Being one person and not knowing anybody else or an organization that you can turn to or peers living with HIV. It's a very lonely, scary world. Yes, we have doctors, specialists, counselors, psychologists, but they're people who can advise how to deal with the situation, not relate and connect on a personal level.
I'm interested, you live in regional Victoria. I'd love to ask you to tell us a little about what it's like to live in regional Victoria and live with HIV, where there isn't as there isn't as much of a HIV positive community that you can find in your local area. And what was that like in those early years, and what's it like today?
In early years, it's very, very different. Of course, being so young and trying to chat with mates and everything, like they're not they're not going to understand. They haven't got the general grasp of anything.
Mm.
And as I mentioned just before, it's a very isolating thing.
Mm.
Nowadays, it's not so bad. I've met a couple of people living with HIV, and just being able to chat to them really makes a difference. But out of X amount of people who live in the area and only knowing just a couple, it's, I wouldn't say disheartening, but it's different. Whereas where I do come to Melbourne and I do know people who know people living with HIV, it's knowing that there is a larger community, but a larger community that's still so far away and hard to network and connect with.
Mm. So how much would you say your life has changed? Has your life changed as much as you thought it would when you were first diagnosed?
Life hasn't really changed. At first, I didn't know what was going to happen. Early days, I was thinking, okay, how long left do I have?
Mm.
And then after, I think it was a month of many blood tests and doctor's appointments, and then finally an appointment with a specialist, and finally getting on medication, taking a single pill every day hasn't really changed life all that much.
Mm.
If anything, it's probably improved my life.
And so doing a fundraiser like the one that you've been doing, putting your HIV status sort of out there into the world, it's not something that that everyone chooses to do. It's not something that everyone could do. It's something that you've done. And so what has your experience been of telling other people about your HIV within the gaming community and I guess also more broadly?
At first, it's a little scary because, especially on the online world, you don't know what trolls you're going to have to deal with. The stigma, the discrimination. Thankfully, during this fundraiser, there wasn't any of that at all. It was nothing but support from people within my community, people who have just come in to ask questions. It's truly a magical experience, feeling so much support and love. And of course, just so many people saying, it's okay, take your time. No one expected you to do this, and it is such a big thing. For me personally, telling so many people my story and sharing it, it's not too difficult anymore. It's always such a pleasant experience for me.
And why do you think that is?
I'd say these days, being positive isn't as frowned upon. Very thankfully, we live in a time where people aren't as afraid of it. We've got medication to help treat it, and of course, medication to help prevent it. So having those medications there, it's not become a scary thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to this fundraiser, how was it? How did it go?
It went extremely well. I'm very pleased to say that myself and my community and a few new friends to the stream raised $1,000.
Oh, that is so fantastic. What did you think you were going to raise? What was your what target did you have in mind?
I didn't really have a target in mind at first. I was like, okay, we'll start off small. $250 was all I thought I was going to make at first, especially for the time that I was doing it.
Yeah.
But the first donation we got during the stream was the $250.
Amazing.
Right off the bat. I was like, okay, so we're exceeding goals already.
So fantastic. Yeah, I have to say when we were talking beforehand, I was thinking you would maybe make a few hundred, and that would be amazing. And yeah, I was blown away when I tuned in at one point and it was up to 650. Just absolutely fantastic. And what sort of conversations did you? I mean, you're playing video games, you're streaming live, your thumbs are working like crazy. You're fighting off, or you're doing one-handed Mario Kart, or you're fighting off monsters, and at the same time you are managing a chat that's happening in the kind of sidebar. And you're also finding time to put information about living with HIV, about Living Positive Victoria into that chapter. How did you manage to do all of that?
It's definitely a learning curve to try and manage it all. All the information, I spent quite a few hours on it. I was probably up until about 2:00 in the morning making documents, getting all the information from various different websites, from the Living Positive Victoria website, Hetman, and the other affiliated programs, and putting it all into one document and then setting it up as a chat command that automatically sends it through after X amount of minutes or X amount of chat messages. And then, of course, using information that wasn't automatically coming through to present it across in between different games, or when we just moved into a chatting scene. And everything else kind of came naturally. Growing up, playing video games and coming from such a big family, being able to divide the attention between playing the game, talking to someone, looking at something else, for me has just come very, very naturally.
Well, that really showed, and congratulations for not just to you, but to your community and to all of the people who participated and engaged in this fundraiser. We are so grateful. That donation was the biggest donation that we received last year, and it just, as a small community organisation, it's incredibly helpful for us. One of the things that we're able to offer when people make a donation is that they can have a say about where their contribution goes within the organisation. And yesterday we talked about what you think we should do with the funds that you and your community raised, and you came up with a pretty good idea.
I did. I'd like to see the donation could somehow support people living with HIV in regional areas to be able to access the programs that you guys at Living Positive Victoria offer here in Melbourne, to be able to get here and stay here if they need to.
So good. So this donation can form a fund to support people who are living in region of Victoria, living with HIV, to attend our workshops and other activities. So it might mean helping out with the cost of petrol or transport, or staying in Melbourne to attend the 2-day Phoenix workshop. It's such a great idea. I can't wait till we can make it happen. So again, thank you so much. So what next for you, Skelly? What do you think we'll see you doing next? Do you think we'll see more of you in the HIV positive community?
You are absolutely going to see more of me. I'm already looking at doing more fundraisers and doing lots of other things in the fundraisers rather than just small milestones. And I am looking at getting more involved with some of the programs that Living Positive Victoria offers, being a part of that community.
Fantastic. So just to remind folks, and we'll put it in the show notes, how do people find you on Twitch?
All they have to do is look up SkellyBear18.
SkellyBear18. And that is where you can connect with Jordan's fundraising. So, all right, final question. Do you have any words of wisdom for recently diagnosed folks who might be living in regional Victoria? Or is there anything that if I gave you a time machine that you might go back and tell yourself?
Wisdom for other people. You are not alone. There is a big, open, diverse community holding out their arms, waiting for you. You are not alone, and you do not have to face this alone. And what might I go back and tell myself? Stress less.
Stress less.
You're going to be okay.
And that you are. It's been such a pleasure talking to you, Skelly Bear, Jordan.
It's my pleasure.
And look forward to seeing much more of you.
Likewise. I can't wait to be a part of more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For more information about the programs and services that Living Positive Victoria offers, go to lpv.org.au and join us on social media.